Welcome back to the weekly review. My name is Mike Larkin, and folks, what a week it has been. You know, we had a slow week last week, but then, as my co-host, to quote him here, kaboom! And kaboom, here he is, the one, the only RWT Deadman himself, Mr. Paul Morales. Paul, holy shit.
I'm here.
Welcome.
You know I got to represent. You know I got to represent my man. You know I got to represent my homie, right?
I know you do, but...
My namesake is right there.
But dude, holy shit, what a week in wrestling. Kaboom.
This has been like, this was a clusterfuck of all kinds of shit that happened in exactly a week and a half, because we took last week off. I had some personal stuff that I had to tend to, but this week we are back, and all of a sudden it was just like, yeah, I was left speechless. After last Thursday, I was left pretty much less speechless.
I mean, with everything that's going on, there is a lot to cover in today's show, folks. But I will say this, and we will start off lighthearted, but it does suck for this individual because they lost their job. Kevin Patrick was fired.
Man, and we have to start the show with somebody losing their job.
I know.
And Kevin fucking Patrick, of all people, got let go. Man, I liked him, but he just didn't seem to fit. I don't want to say he was Mike Adamle. Believe me, he was not no Mike Adamle, to where he just came in and just fumbled the ball, but dude is just, he didn't fit it. And as much as Michael Cole worked with him, it's like he didn't acclimate enough to the job, and he just didn't fit it. I mean, dude, if dude goes back and starts announcing, football, soccer, I mean, that's where he would best fit, because, to me, it just seems like that would be suitable for him. And that's where I hope he lands on his feet, and wherever he goes, I hope, all the best, man, because he's a really, really nice guy.
My thing with Kevin Patrick, and I like him too, I think he was great as like the pre-show guy, and like he was fine as an like interviewer. But when he got to that commentary spot and he's saying stuff like he's such a big, strong boy for such a wee lad, and he kept calling Corey Graves gravy, and just saying what he was saying, I'm like, I know Michael Cole was trying to work with him, but he's not that good.
Yeah, he's not Mike Adamle bad.
No, but he was pretty bad. And then he
was bad. But I mean, Mike Adamle is one of those people where you're just like, that's the standard of being as low as you want to get.
And he was good. Now, Mike Adamle, like you mentioned, like you talk about Kevin Patrick, what we do, we cover football. Mike Adamle was not bad on American Gladiators. Like when he was on
that's American Gladiators. This is WWE. And those are taped shows. Those are taped where he can come back in and adjust whatever he says. And, like when they were doing the live segments, or the recorded segments where he has to, pretty much follow a script, this is different. Mike Adamle had to do this on a fly. He had Vince in his ear at the time. He had Vince in his ear telling him, you need to say this, you need to say that. And he tried, but
I think with him too, with Mike Adamle, like when he he didn't have a good debut at the Royal Rumble 08 with the Jeff Harvey stuff, and then Jamaican Me Crazy Kofi.
Jamaican Me Crazy
Kofi. But that was that. I mean, Kevin Patrick, I'm sure he will fall back right on his feet. He'll get back up. He'll get back into the game and the grind, if you will. But we did have new announcers announced, as we found out on Raw. The new Raw team is Michael Cole, and Pat McAfee. And the SmackDown team is now Corey Graves.
Let's go!
I'm happy about it. I'm like that Michael Cole and Pat McAfee are back together.
Actually, the thing that gets me is the thing that I'm really, really happy about is that it gives Corey Graves a different element, because there were times to where he sounded like he was a lead over Michael Cole, even when they were doing even when Kevin Patrick was there, he always sounded like he was the lead guy of the group.
I think with Corey, like he has a presence to him. Like when he stopped wrestling and due to concussions and everything, and then they put him in the announce booth, he just has that voice where he can call it. Like it was like a hand in glove for him. And I think I understand what you mean by that. Like now he's the main guy alongside Wade Barrett. And for their first night, I thought they did a very good job. And
I thought they did great.
They fed off each other very, very good. Same. And Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, like that is a great tandem just because they feed off one another and they generally like each other. So I think the switch has done very well. I mean, Vic Joseph and Booker T on NXT with Booker T and his whole no water, no water, just meat, the whole thing. No bread, no water, just meat. It works. Like the 3 announced teams that we have are very in sync with one another.
Yeah, I kind of thought that Vic was going to end up coming over to SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
And then quite possibly doing both shows between NXT and doing SmackDown, but it was a good choice to put Corey Graves over there, and especially teaming him with Wade Barrett. Listening to them yesterday, I mean, it worked on SmackDown. It worked. I know everybody's going to be like, man, why are you referring to yesterday? Well, because today's Saturday, and well, we're recording on a Saturday, and
yeah.
Anyways, back to what we were talking about.
No, you're cool, man. But the thing is, too, I think the shift in announcing, I mean, it would have been interesting if they would have brought somebody up like a Blake Howard, who was the one who was doing Level Up, and really elevate him because he's actually not bad. But I think it's a good choice for Corey Graves and Wade Barrett. I mean, a lot of people would have liked to seen a Mauro Ranallo come back. And I mean, under a different regime, like Mauro Ranallo's another one, like if the future, I don't know, but he would do very well. But I think what we have here is a nice mix. It's a nice blend. But I think when you have the level of talent that they have, again, it fits like a hand in glove. And who doesn't love Corey Graves and Wade Barrett and Michael Cole and Pat McAfee? So I'm excited to see where the future goes from the cadence and the overall voice that brings into the announce team, which also brings us into our next topic. Because when you think of Raws and announcements, my goodness, Raw going full steam ahead to Netflix. I'm excited for January 2025. I will say that right now.
I'm excited for it too. It's going to be very, very different. I mean, and through a lot of we look at see how the NFL is doing on Amazon Prime. There still are commercials, but you get graphics as to kind of staying picture in picture. So I'm kind of hoping that's what WWE and Raw are going to do, is that they're going to stay not so much pausing everything, in between commercial breaks and then having to start stuff up again. Look at my cat. Sorry, my fat kitty over there just trying to be all up in the video. I knew it. I knew he was going to end up popping up in here somehow. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I'm just hoping that when they do hit Netflix, that that they kind of do the whole picture in picture. But if I would like to see a full match actually happen with no commercials. Seriously.
Yeah, the no more picture in picture and just
yeah. That kind of rubs me the wrong way. I mean, I would like to see a full match. I mean, if you want to take a break in between backstage segments, to set something else up, fine, do that. But I'm tired of watching ad breaks in between matches, and then if you've ever gone to a Raw or a SmackDown, I would say as of recently, within the last few years, even before COVID, I know a lot of the times people have said that they stop the action and then they start them back up just shortly, a couple of minutes back to where they were at before. And it's like, why? Why not just continue a 10-15 minute match and, or however long the match is, let them leave, do a backstage segment, and then do a commercial, and then start something back up again. That it just makes sense to me rather than having them start, stop, repetitive.
And to add to your point, I think you made a great point there. From you look at back in 2005, 2006, like I remember when they used to do WWE.com Unlimited, where you could go, it's like you had your computer in front of you and the TV's right here. You just switch, and then you can watch Raw, like the commercial breaks on the website, which was cool. Do something like that again, but with the whole thing with Netflix, man, like you talk about eliminating commercials, but with the world of streaming and how big it's gotten, everybody pretty much streams now. So I think this is a huge get for WWE, which also begs the question here, Paul, because like, what are they going to do from October to December? Are we still going to get that extension with USA before we get to Netflix, or what do you think they're going to do with that brief time period?
I'm kind of leaning towards them still, kind of doing the extension, because it's not like USA is completely going away from WWE, because the PLEs are still going to be on Peacock. You're still going to have SmackDown on USA. So the thing is that are we still going to get Raw on Mondays? Are we going to end up switching days to where we end up getting SmackDown on Mondays and, Raw on Fridays? Or, we still have no idea where the hell they're going to land at. All we know is, but we do know that that NXT is going to be on Tuesdays on the CW. So we know that much, and we know SmackDown's going to USA in October. So
that leaves the uncertainty with Raw, and especially with Netflix, you can really do whatever. I mean, if I were you, would you stay on Raw? Would you go to a different day, like a Wednesday, a Thursday, or what are you thinking?
I don't know. It all depends on what they want to do. I mean, if you're already gonna battle Monday Night Football when the football season comes in. So from September to January to the middle of January, you're pretty much against Monday Night Football every Monday. So for 17 weeks, you're battling that. Not to mention that you have a wild card game that now sets on, a wild card game that also sits on a Monday too. So that's 18 weeks. So for 18 weeks, you're going to have Raw on Netflix, or you can have it, either recorded or whatever. But I mean, unless they're going to move it to a different day or change the timing on it, or are we going to get a 2-hour freaking Raw?
Oh, man, I miss those days, right? When it was just 2 hours.
I know, I miss those days too, but but are people really going to stream for 3 hours for a Raw? I mean, how many commercials are you going to get in between it? I mean, a 2.5, okay, I can kind of bend. 2 hours would kind of be my limit. I mean, I'm okay with SmackDown being 2 hours. So to me, it just all depends on the person and what Netflix wants. If Netflix wants a 3-hour show, then you're going to give Netflix a 3-hour show.
I think it should be very interesting to see, but I'm very happy to see WWE going into this direction. And I think there's a lot of different layers of how we're going to get to 2025. And we're only in 2024 and the second month now of 2024. And a lot has happened thus far. And another direction that we have went into, Mr. Paul Morales, is, do you smell what The Rock is cooking on the board,
man? The Rock has made his way to the board of TKO, and he owns his name, The Rock. So Dwayne now owns The Rock, and now he owns a piece of TKO and the WWE.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the infamous picture that we saw this week of The Rock hitting the bell, Triple H on one side, Nick Khan on one side, Vinnie Mac on one side as well. It was a very interesting photo just to see everybody there and just everybody excited to see The Rock as a part of the board of directors. I think he's going to be a positive role and a positive influence. I mean, some may not think so when we get to our later topic, but I'm excited to see what The Rock does. I think it's a great addition.
This is going to be an interesting one, especially now that he has the combination of what the XFL and the USFL kind of merging together. He has the United Football League that's going to start up in March. That he has that too, on top of now being part of the board. So now he gets to, kind of have a little, influence on some of the things in WWE, which will come up in another topic we have later on.
I will say this about the influx. How crazy is it to think now in the year 2024 that the head guys in the charge, if you will, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and The Rock is now on the board of directors? How freaking crazy is that?
To think of where we started out in the 90s and early 2000s with those three individuals, and how much they influenced and how much they were part of the culture of what the early part of our wrestling experience, at least mine too. I mean, mine goes all the way back to Hogan and Dusty and, and Ric Flair back in the NWA, Sting, Junkyard Dog, Roddy Piper. Mine's all the way back there. But I mean, in my early 20s, early to mid 20s, it was always Shawn, Dwayne, Paul. So three of them, and of course John, and then Randy, and it all comes about. And of course, can't forget namesake.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, him too.
Dude, that's the prime era, the attitude era to where we are now in today's generation, today's influx of professional wrestling. I will say this, folks, with Paul talking about going way back, you probably go all the way back to the Global Wrestling Federation and watching the Ebony Experience before they came Harlem Heat, Booker T and Big Stevie, right?
Wow. Thank you for making me seem old. Fuck you.
That was good times, man. I do have a lot of those on DVD.
Hey, you know what? That was a long time ago, and you know what? We see the transition from where they were at then into where they are now. I mean, we see how much they advance, and that's another name too. Booker T is also, he's on NXT, and again, back to somebody else who started off in one company, ended up in WWE, and then ended up being such an influence, and for throughout the people that he touched, in his life. So it all comes full circle. And the fact that these four gentlemen are still in the industry and, contributing to what they're doing, hey, all the power to it.
I think you have some of the great talents, the great coaches to really usher in the next generation. And what we're about to usher into now, folks, is the Royal Rumble. And one video I have to play before we actually talk about this, and you sent it to me, is one of my absolute favorites, as much as yours, streamers, and one of my favorite YouTubers, one of my favorite social media presences is the one and only Miss It's WheezyBlonde. And she had some comments about people that be throwing some shade, throwing some haterade and drinking it, if you will, at the Raw Rumble. So what I'd like to do now, Paul, is play this fine video of the one, the only Miss WheezyBlonde. Are you ready to hear the damn thing?
Let's go.
I really enjoyed the Rumble. We had talked about how this was the first Rumble in a while that I feel like they weren't going to have to depend on legends, and they didn't. The most frustrating thing for me, and it's just frustrating in general, dealing with the internet wrestling community, like as a whole. It's difficult for me to deal with because I felt like the Royal Rumble was amazing. I felt like it was awesome. And you have people talking about, one, the predictability of it, how stupid it is, all of these things. And I just don't understand. I don't understand why people who claim to be fans of something hate it so much. Because I swear just a few years ago, we were complaining about how big premium live events were pending on Legends, or how it was taking spots away from current talent when we had Goldberg, or we were having the whole situation with the Greatest Rumble, or whatever was going on in Saudi Arabia. We had that period of time that people were sick of. Now we're finally entering an age where we don't need them, and people are mad that didn't happen. But I also don't know that it's totally the fact of not having legends. I think a lot of it is also the letdown of wanting something to happen and it not happening.
She made an absolute amazing point about people that have just been shitting on the Rumble and not having enough surprises. Because my thing is, and I'll know you'll add on to this, Paul, when you have the overflow of talent that you have and enough people from the NXT brand and everything that coincides and intertwines with the brands, you have a set roster where you don't need as many surprises as you did because you're stacked with talent.
Here has always been my gripe under Vince's reign as Booker, is that every year there has always been a return of some sorts of some legend or some older Booker T. Speaking of that, we just mentioned right a little while ago, Booker T. I want to say for maybe 3 or 4 years, he was always at like a certain middle number, and then he ended up getting eliminated. Somebody who is very rarely used, Titus O'Neil, somebody else that was always taking up somebody else's space. And I have nothing but mad respect for Titus. Titus is one of those guys that is just, he contributes his time, to all these charities for WWE. So I got nothing but mad love and respect for him. But you got guys who are like, don't need to be there. You have a stacked roster from both shows. You can get 15 guys from SmackDown and 15 guys from Raw and put them inside of a men's Royal Rumble. You can get 15 girls and 15 women from either show and put them in a women's Royal Rumble. I just don't get why you want to fill a spot. And I get it for pops, you know, whatever. But if you surprise somebody and you have 3 brands, it's not like you have just the 2. You have 3 brands. You can call up people from NXT, showcase them in the Royal Rumble, like this year. Like this year's Royal Rumble. What did Triple H do? He had women from NXT show up on the women. He had guys from the NXT show up on the men. So it's about gelling people together, you know, and being able to showcase them. That's what it's for, you know. And if it's predetermined, we already know wrestling is predetermined, but we didn't know if Cody was going to win. We didn't know if CM Punk was going to win. You know, just like we didn't know if Bayley was going to win, or we didn't know that Becky was going to win. But those are the matches that we want for WrestleMania. You know,
and for me to add on to your point, Paul, it's just like we had great, and we'll talk about the debuts here. Tiffany Stratton had a great showing in the Royal Rumble. They brought Roxanne Perez back in. Like, they had a lot of great people that shined in that Royal Rumble. Like, with the men, you're bringing in so many great people. Like, Carmelo Hayes was in it. Like, Carmelo Hayes had a great showing. People crapped on the Pat McAfee spot, but for me, that made me laugh. I thought that was actually very funny.
And it was funny. It was one of those moments to where after he got off the ring and, you know, he went back to the announcer's table, you know, Michael Cole ribbed him, you know, saying, oh, well, I've been the longest announcer in there, you know, so thus far, you know, throughout all these years and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, to leave, you know, McAfee just kind of stood there, got in the ring like, yeah, let's go. Then all of a sudden he was just like, yeah, no, I got to go because I am not fighting Omos.
Yes. And another one in there. First of all, Braun Breaker. Shit. Like, just spearing everybody and killing everybody. That man had an incredible Royal Rumble appearance.
Yes, he did.
Now, SmackDown or Raw? That also leads me to Braun Breaker. What do you think he's going to go with? Because I know we saw Naomi go to SmackDown. We'll talk about Naomi in a second, but who are you going with? What do you think?
I think it all depends on what Triple H wants to do with him. Mm-hmm. On if he sees him as a successor to the Intercontinental title, or if he sees him as somebody who could be a long-term U.S. title run. You know, that would make sense to me, is him being on SmackDown, allowing SmackDown to have the show, you know, be that show that showcases a lot of the younger talent. That would be that, especially it staying on USA. I mean, I think that would be beneficial for it to happen that way. But he could go after Gunther, but then again, he could be the one to dethrone Logan Paul whenever the hell that happens. You know, probably at WrestleMania is when he's going to drop the title. So, but I would like to see it.
Me too. And I think with the Rumble, like, first of all, like we talked about, I didn't think it was a bad show at all. Like, I mean, we had Roman retain. We had everything that expected. But here's my thing with that. It also leads more to AJ Styles and LA Knight due to the finish, and also leaves Randy Orton open to say, hey, I didn't get pinned. I want another shot at the title. Mm-hmm. So it opened up more levels. And I'm going to say right now, a lot of people shat on it, but god dang it, man, Kevin Owens hitting the brass knucks, and the referee caught him, and then he just mollywopped and powerbombed Logan Paul through the doggone announce table. The continuation of that, I enjoyed. Logan Paul has been hitting on all cylinders. Say what you will about the man, but he took a beating from Kevin Owens.
But that could be another person. And Kevin Owens could be another person to take the title off of him too. Mm-hmm. I would personally like to see Gunther and Braun Breaker, you know, have that match. You know, if that's something that they want to do at, you know, over an Elimination Chamber, hey, I'm all for it. Hey, I'm all 100 in on that one.
Same. I mean, we've seen them go at it in NXT when Braun Breaker was the NXT champion. Let's go for the Intercontinental Championship.
Let's go, you know, and then, you know, that's his streak, you know, that could be something for Gunther to do. And, lo and behold, Gunther can actually have this match with Braun, drop the title, enter the elimination chamber, and then win, and then go after the World Heavyweight Championship, and again, back to something we will end up probably talking about just in a few minutes about one CM Punk. But right now, that would be something that I would like to see, as a fan, something that we want to see, because I still think the possibility is for LA Knight to take the title off of Logan Paul, because that would be another match that a lot of people would like to see too.
I think just because of the fact that they're both great talkers and it would be a doggone good match, I would love to see it. And also what you really love to see here too is, we mentioned Naomi signing to SmackDown. We'll talk about Naomi here in a doggone second. But Andrade's back and he's on Raw.
Yep, and we talk about all the returns from Royal Rumble, and Naomi being one of them, that she returned from TNA.
Whew.
Speaking of one TNA, we got one Jordynne Grace, the TNA Knockouts champion, coming out at number 5.
Dude, she looked great. She looked absolutely amazing.
She went 100 on that match. Just in the time that she had in the ring, I'm going to agree with Denise. I'm going to agree with Wheezy. That girl is a superstar right now, and she could be a top star in WWE right now.
Agreed. I love the hug and the throwback to TNA Hard to Kill with Naomi.
that spot, as soon as you see them, interact, they hug, and all of a sudden you get the TNA chants from the fans who were, and if you go back, please, I ask anybody to go watch Jordynne Grace talk about, I think it's on TNA on YouTube, how she talked about how she got the call from oh my god, I'm shitting on his name. Scott D'Amore.
Yeah,
Scott D'Amore. As she got the call from Scott D'Amore, and she thought he was kidding. He was like, okay, well, I want you to run in through the crowd. Okay, that kind of made more sense. You could probably play it on here, and she was probably she said point blank. She was shocked. She was happy. She showed up at the PC in Orlando. Shocked everybody, that they actually got to see her, and it was great to see that crossover. And now that Endeavor, owns, is kind of partial owning on TNA, we could eventually see that crossover. And Jordynne has already said on her Twitter, she would like to face Natalya. She would like to face Naomi again. She would like to face Bianca Belair. So we never know, as fans, we may actually get this match. And whether it's in TNA or whether it's in WWE, I don't think it matters. We would just like to see it.
Same. And first of all, I loved her also, besides the fact that she mentioned that on Twitter. I like the whole troll job of, what are you guys talking about? I'm at home. I'm at home. But here's my thing with that too, like Natalya going over to TNA or Bianca Belair. Not only that, but I would love to see a TNA wrestler wrestle at WrestleMania, because that would be awesome. Yeah. Again, I think what's great about the Scott D'Amore Triple H WWE TNA relationship is, I don't think we would have saw this if Dick Sakata, honey, was still in charge of TNA like it was back in the day. I think it's a new regime, and also the fact that a lot of people respect Scott for his role in professional wrestling and as an executive. I think we're going to see more of this, like we mentioned, but I'm excited just because, again, who would have thought that years when TNA and WWE were like this a little bit, and now it's more like this? I think it's wonderful, man. It's a beautiful thing for wrestling.
Yeah, but you have to credit Nick, you have to credit Ari, and you also have to credit Triple H, because Triple H has always wanted to branch out, but that's something Vince didn't want to do. Vince wanted to be on the relative island of their own relevancy, and it was just us, and not talk about anybody else outside of WWE. The fact that Mickie James got to come over as the Impact Knockouts champion, surprised the hell out of a lot of people, especially since she was doing her last rodeo. And yeah, I get it. She has her history in WWE. So the fact that she got to come over, she got to show off hardcore country. She came out to it, you know, and then she was able to come out with the Impact Knockouts Championship. Hey, that was cool. And the same thing with Jordynne Grace. You heard the sirens. Queen of the Ring, Miss Alex, you know, she's the one that actually said that she popped. She said as soon as she heard the sirens, she popped, because she said she wasn't even expecting it. She was sitting in her seat and she said, I could not believe that it was her. So that was the reaction for a lot of people. And she came out and she did her thing, you know, and that spot at the end, you know, with her and Bianca, I'd like to see more of that.
Same. Also, I have to mention this. Pat McAfee, when the sirens came on, he's like, cops are here. Police here.
Right.
Bro, another debut. I got to mention it. That girl, Jade Cargill. What a performance. Holy shit, man. That bitch.
You know what's funny is that Tony Khan does not own any of the rights to their music, because she came out to her AEW theme. She came out to her AEW music. How does Tony Khan not have any rights to this music? It just does. It baffles the hell out of me that he's just allows all these people just to leave the companies and just come and do whatever the hell they're doing, you know? But it's cool though, because if you, even if you're just a casual AEW fan, you know the music. You knew as soon as it hit, and you knew as soon as you saw her name, you know, pop out. It was Jade, and she's just that aura that she has. And back to one Bianca Belair, you know, the spot that she had where they were both gorilla pressing, you know, a girl each over their head, and then all of a sudden they drop, and then that interaction, man, that was just like, give me that shit. Give me that fucking match between those two women. And the fact that she did my girl dirty. She did my girl Nia dirty. That pissed me off, man. She did my girl dirty. But hey, all for the love of wrestling, man.
Dude, that friggin' fireman's carry into that slam. First of all, Nia's bae. Let's put that out there. Nia's bae. But yo, Jade Cargill,
man,
I will say
did my girl dirty.
You, first of all, I'm just going to put this as an aside. You and Amir are two of the biggest Nia Jax fans I've ever met in my life.
Oh, my boy.
Our boy. Doc. Shout out to the Doc.
Doc Kingpin. Look, I whatever.
Whatever. But yes, Nia got done dirty, and Jade Cargill eliminated her.
Man, she did my girl dirty. But hey, you know what? Hey, she picked her ass up. She threw her out of the damn ring. And the fact that Becky was sitting there laughing, that had me rolling too.
Me too. That shock factor. Like, holy shit.
She's just like, oh, you got bounced, bitch. No offense, but I didn't mean that in a bad way. But you know, the fact that she was like, ooh, you got toast.
Now,
Jade, you did my girl dirty, man. I'm just mad. I'm disappointed. I'm gonna go cry in a minute. I'm gonna go cry after this.
It's just emotions taking him over, like he's fucking Destiny's Child over here. Caught up in sorrow, Mr. Paul Morales. But what is not sorrow, what is not sad, but what is happy times is the fact that Bayley won the Royal Rumble. And my God, they thought that they did the whole thing with sticking to the plan. Asuka and first of all, Kairi Sane holding on to the friggin' ring ropes in that spot where she held on.
Doing her best Spider-Man impression.
Damn is all I can say.
Man, did you see the memes after this?
Yes.
Oh, you gotta show some. Man, then the Spider-Man memes were just like one right after the other, after the other. And I mean, they were just like, I remember there was one, she was hanging on the Empire State Building. There was another one where she was hanging on to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and then one she was holding on. There was just a lot of them, man. There was too many of them to count.
But it's so funny just for the fact that it's one of those things. It's like how it was the Spider-Man memes. It was everything.
Holding on. Don't ask me how the hell she was doing it, but she was that girl just has some strengths in her upper body strength. The fact that she was holding on to the ring, holding on for dear life, but she did the damn thing though. Bayley, it was either going to be Bayley or Becky that were going to win. And the fact that it was Bayley and she's getting her time to shine, and nobody gives that woman enough credit. Nobody. Yep, there it is. And she's hanging on for dear life. She's like, hold on.
I'm gonna play it really quickly because it's funny. Here we go.
Wait, Jessica Carr, official on the side, is giving a thumbs up as if she was good.
Like that is just hold
on. Oh man.
But the thing with that too is, as well as like you talk about Bayley winning, like eliminating Bianca and Liv, and just coming towards the end there and just winning it. And I think first of all, not only is it well deserved for her, if she's been Raw champion, SmackDown champ, NXT champ, tag champ, like this is something like she hasn't done yet. It also makes sense for the fact that she wants to, and we'll get to this in a second, but wants to get more gold and go to WrestleMania. I think if there's a right time to turn this girl babyface, it's the right time, because she hasn't been a babyface in like 5.5 years now. So it's crazy to think like that.
Yeah, but you look at what she did during the pandemic. You know how much she carried this company during the pandemic?
She carried.
She was here. She was there. The fact that she was there, she came in, she did what she needed to do. She won her matches, but she carried WWE during the pandemic era, and not a lot of people give her enough credit. She carried this company, when Charlotte was hurt, when Mercedes left, she was doing what she was doing, and people just wish that she was given the same respect. Her name was given that respect the same way that everybody else was, the same way they give Charlotte, the same way they gave Sasha Banks, the same way they give Becky. Come on, she's part of the 4 horsewomen too, and they just got to put some respect on her name, man.
First of all, we do want to talk about Bootylicious. First of all, besides
come on, man.
We're going to go there. First of all, Bayley is fine as wine, number one. I like when the kid was like with the sign, Bayley, you're hot. I'm like, first of all, like we're literally just going to, like, you're just noticing this now, that Bayley is fine as wine, and she's just great. It's freaking Bayley, man.
She bootylicious.
She is. She is.
Hey, that Latina can tell you she fine.
She is. Absolutely. And what else is absolutely fine to see and great to see was Cody Rhodes and CM Punk were the final two. First of all, you know what this exchange reminded me of? It's like Shawn and Taker from Royal Rumble 07. That's what it reminded me of, at the final exchange between those two.
Yep.
Whew. They went back and forth. Right winner won with Cody Rhodes eliminating CM Punk, and we'll get the punker here in a second. But god dang, man, he points to Roman Reigns. It's who he wants. And then all hell broke loose this week. Can Cody finish the story? Well, Cody decided, well, we're not going to challenge at WrestleMania, but he talked to the council. Here came The Rock. They hugged. They had the stare down, and people were pissed the following day, because it's like, you son of a bitch, you took Cody.
Believe me, it didn't even take it. It took all the way up until. It took all okay. You have to pull it up. Do it right now.
Yeah.
Pull up the YouTube video of the digital clip right after, or the digital clip of them of the segment. I'll tell you the reason why.
Okay.
I want you to look at the likes and the dislikes.
Alrighty. So obviously, for copyright reasons, folks, we're not gonna pull up the whole entire segment, but I will say,
I just want you to pull up just to look at it. I just want you to look at the bottom where it says likes and dislikes.
Yep.
And all I want you to do is to pull up that part right there that says like and dislike, because if you look at how many people dislike the segment,
yep,
there were more people that disliked the segment. And then you look at the comments, oh my God, people were pissed.
So if you go to it, it has 93K likes and over 100,000 freaking dislikes.
Okay, now go to the digital one to where after the show went off the air.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how many dislikes and look at how many likes it has. Here's the interesting thing is that people hated this segment. People hated the fact that this is going to happen. I'm under the impression that this isn't the only thing that is going to happen. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I hope to God, and I said this to Dave, I said this to Amir, I said this to everybody in the RWT page. I said point blank, I hope this is a twist. There's a swerve. I hope something. Because if they don't do that, you're going to get a lot of people that are not going to tune in for this match. Well, I understand. I completely understand. So many people wanted this match. But if this match didn't happen after 2015, if this match didn't happen within a year or two after 2015, if you know what I'm referring to, it was that moment that they were out there in the Wells Fargo Center where they got booed the hell out of it.
Yeah. So with this video, it's 70
in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, no less.
Well, 74K likes and over 100,000 dislikes. The ratio was crazy. But back to what you said, and I'm glad you brought that up. Roman Reigns wins the 2015 Royal Rumble. The Rock raises his hand. He takes out Kane the Big Show, points to Roman, and got booed. And now they're in Philadelphia.
Both of them got booed.
And Rock got the hell out of there. Like, I'm going to get out of here because Philly was ready to riot.
I'm out.
But
the thing is that if Vince, for all his infinite wisdom, did not see the benefit of turning him then, that was the worst part. And I get it. You wanted to differ, to make each individual person of the Shield different. He made Mox different from Seth. He had Roman different from the other two. The fact that they were all different individuals, the thing is that Seth was your heel. You were trying to make Roman your face, and you were trying to make him the face of the company. There was a reason why that promo with John Cena kept happening. John said, I'm a part-timer. I have to keep coming back because you can't do your damn job.
And he was correct on that. I mean, like,
he was correct.
And the part is, like, you talk about him with the heel turns. They could have turned him heel there. When he beat The Undertaker in 2017, and this is my yard now, you could have turned him there. You had many spots where you could have turned him heel, but you didn't. And like I said, I think it's so funny that 9 years later now we're going back to Philly, and people don't want to see this now. And we have a press conference coming up from Vegas this Thursday, and they're going to have a stare down. But it's very reminiscent to me of Cody Rhodes is in the Daniel Bryan role of, like, no. And then, we get and he gets inserted into the match and he wins the title at WrestleMania 30. That's just, I feel like he's in the Daniel Bryan role. And PW Insider and many of the sources have been saying now we're going to get Cody and Seth. And I'm like, he's already beaten him 3 times. And Roman devalued the title. It's the loser title. You want to be the best number 2 instead of facing the number 1. So you kind of devalued and put that match down a peg. Like, okay, they're fighting for the secondary title.
Okay, now I want to transition. I will do the transition myself. Now we went from this. Now let's talk about CM Punk. The reason why I bring him up was because during that Royal Rumble match, he ended up getting injured.
Yeah, from the
Future Shock DDT from one Drew McIntyre. Okay, I'm gonna laugh for a second because Drew has been shading that boy has been shading CM Punk since it happened. But CM Punk got injured. He ended up tearing his triceps. So what happened is that now we are not getting Seth versus CM Punk. So we get the promo on Monday to where Seth is over here telling Cody, now that he's the winner, you need to choose me over Roman Reigns. Why? Because this belt, this is the workhorse belt of what I've been trying to build this thing up since winning it. I've gone out. I've done match after match after match, and I'm the one that's being the workhorse. So this is the title that you want. This is the Dusty Rhodes title. You don't want to go to Raw, or you don't want to go to SmackDown and get that Hollywood title. It's basically it's a politic title, because that's essentially that's what it is.
It is.
And everybody's politicked for it. And over the last few years, that's what we got, from Brock Lesnar to Roman Reigns and you even go back to Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage. You can go back to the 90s and you can get Bret Hart and you can get Shawn Michaels, politicizing it to being what it was, and I don't think Stone Cold had to do it, because guess what? You just needed him to have the title because he was so fucking hot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's when Dwayne had it, because Dwayne was supposed to be the number one guy in the company, back and forth between him and Stone Cold, and the Undertaker was somewhere in between there, but the Undertaker didn't need the title.
No, it reminds me of, to add to your point here, first of all, like you mentioned, the shade. This is probably one of the best Drew McIntyre heel runs ever. I prayed for this to happen. He told them before beating his ass on Monday Night Raw was amazing. And I cannot wait for Punk and Drew McIntyre, probably towards around SummerSlam time, late fall. That is going to be great to see CM Punk try to finish his quote-unquote story. But to add to your point about Seth, and I love the fact that he brought the Dusty Rhodes title and their workhorse title, I think that was a great promo too. Does it make me want to see Cody and Seth? Yes. It's a mixture of would I like to see Cody and Seth again? Yes, just because of Cody winning the workhorse title. And I also like the fact that, Roman and Rock getting it, but it's not a match that needs to be for the title. I think the title in itself is for the head of the table, which does not need a championship to be surrounded with it.
And that's something that I've stressed several times, and I think I've on our first couple of episodes that I said, if it were to happen, that it doesn't need to be for the title. It should be for the head of the table rather than it being for the title, because from a fan's point of view, if you really want to put Roman Reigns over, make it for the head of the table, because that's basically what they're wrestling for. That match does not need the title. It does not need to be about the title. It's always been about being the head of the table. Even Rock's promo said, should I sit at the head of the table? Should I sit at the booth? Should I sit at the bar? Should I sit at the head of the table? That's what it is about, because that's the Samoan heritage that they're trying to go after. It was never about the title, and it shouldn't be about the title. That should be Cody's run. So if you're going to look for night one, if you're going to look at night one and you're going to wrestle night one, give it to Rock and Roman at night one, then then Cody and Reigns at night two. It just makes sense. At least to me, it does.
Oh, no, I agree. But I mean, if he doesn't do it, I don't want it to be like the bullshit when John Cena came back from the torn pec, won the Royal Rumble 08, and then he's like, you know what, I'm going to cash in at No Way Out. And then he loses by DQ, and then they do the triple threat match at WrestleMania 24, Randy, Triple H, and Cena. Don't do that. It would also be an interesting, instead of like doing Cody and Roman at there, you could do it at the Elimination Chamber, and you can have Cody win there, and you have Damian Priest, who's Senor Money in the Bank, say, you know what, Cody, I'm going to cash in at WrestleMania. We can get like a Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest thing. That would be another cool scenario. I mean, that's something that I think would be also very cool if they did that direction, if they don't do Cody and Roman. But I would like to see the night one, night two respective matchups, which would be cool. I think if you want to put another scenario, because Damian Priest is lurking in the background, I would love to see Cody, if they go the Elimination Chamber route, have him beat Roman there in front of 70,000 plus people. And then Damian Priest says, hey, I'm going to cash this in at WrestleMania against you. And then you have Cody and Damian Priest, if you want to elevate Damian Priest.
I like that idea.
Okay.
So in the promo, Cody said, I am not going to face you at WrestleMania.
Right.
He didn't say Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't say he was waiting until SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
Which SummerSlam would be about the time that he would break Hogan's record of holding the title. Now, here's my thing. I kind of have like this whole scenario. Now I'm going to try and run this down as fast as possible. So I would like to see Roman wrestle 2 nights in a row. I would like to see him fight on night one against The Rock. And if he beats him, great. He beats him. Night 2, he ends up fighting Cody. Loses to Cody. Cody finishes his story. But if we're not going to get that, and we are going to get just Rock and Reigns on night 2, then at least have Cody beat him at Elimination Chamber. Give that, drop the title there. And if, as you say, if Damian Priest we haven't built up Damian to be, or Triple H has not built up Damian to be a formidable opponent for Cody.
Mm-hmm.
If that's his route that he wants to cash in on, and that's somebody that he wants to cash in on. The only person I see who can actually elevate that world heavyweight title is Gunther.
Same.
Because why? He's over 600 days as Intercontinental title as champion.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to come back to this. In order to elevate that title, you want somebody who is going to be there, somebody who's going to wrestle every week, somebody who's going to put in that time. Gunther's the only person that I can think that could put in that time. Do I think it should be champion versus champion? Of course I should. It should. Because you need somebody to elevate that title, and you're not going to get it with Drew McIntyre. And this is no knock on Drew, but unless you're going to build Drew as to being a formidable opponent for Seth, unless he wins the Elimination Chamber, and he runs on to, I want to say he squashes him. I want to say that that's the only way that it's going to work for either Drew or Gunther, that they have to squash Seth.
I'm right there with you, because if I was to think of anybody to go against Seth, and we mentioned Cody, but I think if the women of the Elimination Chamber, I would love to see Drew because he's red hot. I would love to see Gunther just because of the handshake that they had. And I mean, if Cody were to beat Roman, and think of it like this, and you have Gunther win the Elimination Chamber, like Cody and Gunther, because of the Royal Rumble, he eliminated him twice, same exact spot, pretty much. Like Cody and Gunther, works too.
Yeah, and it's either Gunther or Drew. Mm-hmm. Those are the only two people. I mean, unless you're going to you can't have Cody and Seth, because Cody's already beat him 3 times prior to that.
That's
so
why.
In my mind, it doesn't work. But if you want to do it this way, the only way I can see this is probably the far-fetched idea that I had.
All right, go ahead.
Give me Cody versus Damian at Elimination Chamber for the Money in the Bank.
And then Cody beats him to win the Money in the Bank, and he cashes.
Cody beats him to win the Money in the Bank.
Yes.
And then Cody cashes in on Roman at WrestleMania.
That's
the only other scenario and I held this one. Oh my God, you don't understand. I held this one all day because I wanted to put it on the RWT page, but I was like, no, hold it, because you're lucky. I like you because I held it in for you. See, I held that one in for you.
Thank you.
It's only logical because you have yet to build Damian into anything. He's a tag team. He's a tag team champion. It would be different if he was actually the leader of the Judgment Day, and it wasn't. I know they say that there's no leader, but if Rhea wasn't the one that was holding, telling everybody what to do, and if it were Damian that was doing it, that would work. But if you get it off of Damian and Cody ends up winning it, and he ends up cashing it in at WrestleMania, it works. He finished his story.
I like that. No, that's not far-fetched at all. I like that scenario a lot. I really do. And thank you for saying.
You're welcome.
No, I think that is a great way to go. That's one of the great ways. But I'm here for the ride. I'm like with everybody. I want to see how it plays out. But one of the things that we do know and how it's going to play out is Bayley made a decision. It was on SmackDown. It was very reminiscent of Batista, Triple H, and Ric Flair. And Batista heard every doggone word that Triple H and Ric Flair said before powerbombing him through the table and signing the contract. Bayley knows Japanese. I know y'all been talking shit about me. I'm choosing Io Sky for WrestleMania. I'm here for it. Okay.
I was very on the fence with this.
Okay.
Now, I thought this was going to be one of those it was going to build up to them turning on her.
Mm-hmm.
But we literally got this within 6 days after Royal Rumble that we ended up her getting a decision. Now, mind you, they went to Raw. She was about ready to choose Rhea. She was about ready to say she was going to take on Rhea. Rhea came out. She got hit by my girl Nia. Nia told her, you're gonna pick somebody else. She's all like, okay, I'll make my decision on Friday. All of a sudden, she overheard Io, Asuka, and Kairi talking in the back in Japanese, and she understood what they were saying. But it's one of those, it happened quickly, but at least we know. At least we know now. Now, the other thing is that somebody posted on Twitter that I think it was WrestleOps that I think I had sent it to you, that the last 6 women of the Royal Rumble that were in it should be in the Elimination Chamber, and I believe it's Naomi, Becky, Jade, Liv.
Yeah,
good Lord.
I mean, you got Nia. You got a lot of them that were the last 6 that would make it. I mean, you see Nia. You see, I would think Becky, of course, and I think you would see Jade, Bianca, Liv Morgan, and just everybody that goes into what we saw with the final 6. And I mean, a lot of them. Here's my thing with that. The 2 favorites that a lot of people think are going to win with the Elimination Chamber are either Becky Lynch, because they've been teasing that for a while, but Liv Morgan is also another favorite, because Liv Morgan, last time we saw her, she got attacked by Rhea Ripley. So, I mean, if you were to pick of the 2, for me, I would go Rhea and Becky over Rhea and Liv.
I think I think the bigger marquee would be Becky and Rhea. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's going to be a night 2, either that, or if you're going to main event, if you need a main event for night 1, you're going to put Becky and Rhea. Unless you get somebody to do the. I mean, it probably would have been Rock and Reigns, and then Cody and Reigns on night 2, had they actually followed what a lot of people had presumed what they were going to do. But I think the way it looks, it's like you're going to end up Rock and Reigns on night 2, and then probably Becky and Rhea would be a good matchup to close out night 1, unless something far-fetched happens and you ended up, I don't know. We don't even know what's going to happen on Thursday. That's the worst part, is that we just we don't know what the hell Triple H is freaking trying to do this Montreal screw job on us and shit. We have no idea.
And then I think, going back to Punk's injury for a second, like we talked about Drew and just the build-up for that, like if he wins the Rumble next year and then goes on to face whomever, I'm happy with it. I mean, I think we're going to get Punk and Seth eventually, which is cool. Both boys are going to be hurting, but I'm really interested to seeing now CM Punk trying to finish his story. And I mean, that promo, I will say this right now, that was the most genuine, authentic, and you saw the tears in that man's eyes. Like I said, man cut a great promo, and he made Drew
cut me at the heart.
Right here, man. And he made Drew McIntyre even look like more of a badass, despicable heel than ever.
And matter of fact, CM Punk was actually backstage last night on SmackDown. So he had his surgery, I believe, Tuesday morning, and he was already up and out and about and backstage on SmackDown. So, you know, he still wants to be involved. So we may actually get him as soon as he's able to start rehabbing it. We never know. He may pull that John Cena, point at his pec, and say, hey, guess what? I'm here.
And somebody else is here, and he's here, not the best of lights. Before we get to the final topic, I have one other one I wanted to add in between. Next week, Tony Khan has a huge announcement, because of course he does. A lot of people are speculating that is the signing of one Mercedes Moné. What do you think?
No, he's going to say he's going to go into rehab. He finally got off that cocaine. And I don't know, maybe the young bucks maybe are helping him along. They just need to do something to that man, because he's a little wired. No, I think it's gonna be Mercedes, and if she didn't come back at the Royal Rumble, then she's teased over the last I don't know, month and a half. She's teased posting stuff about Triple H. She's posted stuff about Bayley. She's posted stuff about Naomi. She posted stuff about Rhea, but she's posted about several different things about WWE. So we don't know. Maybe she might pop. Maybe it might not be him, or maybe it might not be her. Maybe it's probably Okada. We don't know.
We shall see, but I'm very interested to see the direction of both Okada and Mercedes Monday and what
Maybe it might be Goldberg for all we know.
Oh Lord. Don't put that into the universe. Don't put that into the
it could be Vince McMahon that they signed.
Oh, speaking of Vince McMahon. All right, here we go. Vinnie Mac. Where do I begin, man? Friggin' lawsuit after lawsuit. I'm about to read what we were talking about on Twitter, but holy hell. I think it's best if we start with this one, Mr. Paul Morales. All right, here we go. Like, this man has just been doing so much. It's from WrestleOps, folks. Here we go. A lawyer for John Laurinaitis appeared to corroborate essential claims in the sex trafficking lawsuit while disputing Laurinaitis' role as described in the complaint. Edward Brennan, the lawyer, said that his client is himself a victim, just like plaintiff Janelle Grant, a former WWE employee. Brennan says Mr. Laurinaitis denies the allegations in the misguided complaint and will be vigorously defending these charges in court, not the media. Like the plaintiff, Mr. Laurinaitis is a victim in this case, not a predator. The truth will come out, and this was a statement to Vice News. We'll start with that one first because, oh my God, I'm going to say it right now. John Laurinaitis is going to be a rat, and he is going to throw Vince under the goddamn bus if he's not already. Your thoughts on Johnny Ace's statement and the whole thing that went to Vice News?
Ooh. This is going to take a while. And I know we didn't plan on going over our hour, but oh my God, this is Vince is knee deep into a whole lot of stuff. So last Thursday, what was her name again? Janelle Grant. Janelle Grant. She's the lawyer, right? She's the lawyer for the girl, or that's the lawyer, right?
Oh, that's the plaintiff. That's the one who's
oh no, that's the plaintiff. Her lawyer was the other girl. Anyways, so Janelle came out and said that Vince she initially signed an NDA, but Vince apparently had stopped all payments to her because that's what he was doing. He was doing a whole lot of that. It's very, very heartbreaking that this man is pretty much going down like this. It's not only heartbreaking because we knew about his past. It isn't like it's not some made up makeshift, whatever you want to call it, make believe stuff, but we knew a lot of his indiscretions that were in the past, and we knew that he wasn't exactly a saint. But the fact that all this came out and it was literally the day before, a couple of days before the Royal Rumble, the day before TKO announced, or the day after TKO announced that The Rock was going to be part of their group, and they were doing all this stuff, and then this came out, and they're trying to say Vince is a sex trafficker. He had this girl, he showered her with gifts and whatnot. He took a woman who was down on her luck, and basically gave her a job, but she was end up doing sexual favors for him. And I don't beg people to go and read all of it, but I mean, you can go on to Sean Ross Sapp, you can go on to listen to Dave Meltzer, you can go on to, pretty much anybody online and you can read it all, but it's horrible, it's disgusting, and it pisses me off that, that somebody of his stature would do something like that. And this actually takes me back to one Ashley Massaro,
God rest her soul.
God rest that woman, and if you don't know the story, I mean, she was they were doing an overseas tour in Kuwait. I think it was a tribute to the troops, and apparently she was sexually assaulted. And she came to Vince, and Vince told her, well, you need to keep it quiet. You need to keep this under wraps. So now all this comes about, and we now see how a lot of what she said, and then you have a lot of other women you have that are corroborating a lot of what she said, and then you have a lot of other female wrestlers that were talking about how they were pretty much told to hush hush backstage, about a lot of things that were going on. There was a culture there, and Vince led the charge of all this culture that was going on backstage, and it's horrible. It's horrible to read. I mean, I don't suggest anybody go read it, but I mean, if you're intrigued as to everything that's going on, man, it's disgusting, and it's painful. It's painful to hear a lot of the women who have come out who are actually former WWE wrestlers, and talk about the things that the culture that was backstage, including John Laurinaitis. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Garcia twins, that are now, formerly the Bella twins, came out and, discussed too. It's crazy. A lot of it is crazy.
I think what I'll start here is, as we're moving some stuff around with the posts, I think what I'd like to start with, because you mentioned her as well, we will start with this one here, because you mentioned the lawyer of the one, the only Janelle Grant, and her name is Ann Callis. So
that's the woman. I like blanked on her name. I knew her last name was Callis.
Not Don Callis,
not Don Callis, but no, that's how I remember her last name. I remember her last name was Callis because of him. So
yeah. So Janelle Grant's attorney, Ann Callis, attorney on the lawsuit aimed at Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE, says, this is in an interview with News Nation, which again, this has hit News Nation in every possible news outlet, says that her office and my inbox have had a barrage of people wanting to come forward to attest about this culture of corruption and also possible victims. We are just beginning now to wade through all of this, but we're frankly overwhelmed. And this will also take us to Maria Kanellis now, as we switch over to Maria, because you mentioned the talents. And am I shocked that Maria also came out and said this? No. So no. Maria Kanellis says, all the news coming out is horrible. Many of us experienced or heard rumors of different levels of evil for years. Some tried to speak up to build momentum to change the culture in WWE. Many times we've been called bitter or crazy. Others have been paralyzed by fear. I just hope justice is served, and I hope this brings some people peace. I pray for all the victims, the ones that have spoke up, the ones no longer with us, and the ones that suffer in silence. And before I get to the Bella Twins one, I will go to your girl and our girl, the one, the only Miss Denise Salcedo. Paul, I know you love you some Denise, so we're going to talk about
I love my Latina heat. She's awesome.
We're going to talk about Hollywood on here. So Vince McMahon reportedly drafted and signed NDAs without WWE's knowledge. The NDAs that several women signed with Vince McMahon were reportedly created in secret and entered into without WWE's knowledge, with McMahon even going as far as to sign them on the company's behalf. So a lot to intake there. And before we get to the Bellas, because that ties into Laurinaitis, what are your thoughts on what Denise had to say, Maria had to say? I mean, it's pretty much, am I shocked at this point? No, because a lot of the storylines with how they incorporated the women from the 90s to the Ruthless Aggression era it makes a lot of sense. It really does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because not a lot of people understand why John Laurinaitis is in this conversation, because, well, he's actually the father of the Bella twins.
Yep.
So the fact that they're coming out and they're talking about it. So they were talking about the culture that was backstage. Ronda Rousey touched on it too. She mentioned it, and in a tweet that she had posted too, and she said it's essentially that it wasn't just Vince. So you also have to look at Bruce Pritchard, who was actually a backstage right-hand man for Vince. I'm pretty sure Kevin Dunn was in that label too. But you look at what happened, and you look at the people who were involved. One former UFC heavyweight champion,
Brock Lesnar.
Now the woman only said a former UFC heavyweight champion. Now there were only a few, or actually she said former UFC champion. So that actually brought it down to 3 people: Ronda Rousey, Ken Shamrock, who was not re-signed to WWE.
No, but I know he just kind of
the only one that was left was
Brock Lesnar. I mean, Shamrock, to add to your point,
who just happened to re-sign in 2001, and that was one of the time, and that was supposedly the time that he re-signed, and he supposedly had some things that happened with that woman and Sean Ross Sapp, Denise. There were a lot of outlets that actually mentioned it. If you have to go to News Nation, you can get the whole interview of Miss Callis and talking about everything that happened. And I mean, you can find it online. I mean, you don't need us to tell you everything, but I mean, it's just horrible and disgusting that that this was the culture that was backstage, for the last few years. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it extends further than just the last few years. Especially with Vince, and we know how many NDAs he's had, and now there's the fact that Miss Callis is actually talking about her inbox is actually flooded with women who are now coming forward to talk about this, who now want to come after Vince. So we talk about Netflix actually wanting to do a series or a documentary on Vince. Well, guess what? Now you're probably going to have to add this. You're probably going to have to go back, revise it, and add this.
And for me too, and I apologize if I cut you off a little before, but dude, I got to put this to the forefront. Like, for me, like when you were talking about, first of all, it wasn't going to be Ken Shamrock. Like Ken Shamrock, I know it just sounded like a Legends deal, but that was way, way back. First of all, you had Matt Riddle there, but it's not Matt Riddle. It's not any of those people, but I look at it from the stance too. Like you mentioned, eliminate down to Brock. I mean, there was stuff that they said, and I'm not going to repeat it here, folks. Like Paul mentioned, we can just listen to it in the interview, or you can look it up online. I'm like, when I first heard about it, I'm like, not Brock. And I mean, that also entails to the fact of they took him, like they're trying to like downplay him in the video games now. And what are your thoughts on them removed him from the supercard? Like, what do you think of them kind of like removing creative plans? And we're also kind of moving and dissipating toward the end of Brock Lesnar.
So I guess the plan was for the Royal Rumble that he was supposed to be the one that took over. Well, Braun Breaker actually took over his spot.
Yeah.
So that was supposed to be Brock's spot. He was supposed to have he was supposed to have a match at Elimination Chamber with Dominic Mysterio, who eliminated Braun Breaker. So I guess it was supposed to be a legend who was supposed to come back. So
they said it was rumored supposed to be Dominic and Brock at the Chamber. And then
it was rumored to be them two at Elimination Chamber, and
Brock
Gunther. It was supposed to be Brock versus Gunther at WrestleMania. So that was supposed to be one of the top matches. I guess that's the reason why Brock was supposed to come back. But I think now that we look at it and we look back at everything, it's like they're gonna erase everything that Brock did. So now Eddie winning the title at No Way Out, and more than likely didn't happen. So that erasing him is like erasing Chris. And I get everything that Chris did, and Chris Benoit. I understand what he did, and I understand that he killed his wife, and allegedly killed his wife. And I'm still under the
conspiracy
theories that it wasn't him. And I have my, as you read all these conspiracy theories, and you try and weigh out the options. But I mean, if we literally have to separate, it's like Jimmy Superfly Snuka was supposedly involved in a murder of either one of his girlfriends or whatever, but yet his history is still in WWE. You know, in WWF lore, you know, they still show him jumping off the top of the cage onto Don Morocco. Why can't Chris get the same response? Because and I get it. I'm probably going to get flack from a lot of people, whoever listens to this. Having a wrestling career and having what happened outside of wrestling, you know, the two don't mix. Because he was a wrestler, yes, because he had CTE, you know, you get a lot of people who say bullshit, you know, that's just an excuse, blah, blah, blah. But okay, well, look at the people in the NFL who had CTE and ended up killing themselves or ended up harming somebody else. You know, do they get their stuff eliminated from you know, from the NFL? No, because they're still part of the NFL. You know, if somebody had sack leader or whatever for whatever season that they had it, you know, they don't get their stuff, you know, eliminated. Somebody probably already broke it, but it doesn't matter. Chris Benoit is deserving to have as much of credit for what he did in wrestling as Brock Lesnar would have his. And do I think he's a disgusting piece of shit? Of course I do. You know, do I think Chris was disgusting for what he did? Of course I do. I have to separate the two. I can't say that this guy didn't do all this. I'd be blind to be, you know, ignorant just to say that he didn't kill his wife or he didn't kill his kid, you know, and Brock didn't go fuck this bitch or, you know, fuck that, you know, fuck this woman or whatever. And, you know, he had his beautiful wife at home, you know, it makes no sense to me. Like, why can't we separate the two?
For me, I gotta say, reading all of this, and when like you were talking about, it made me sick. It gave me like that pit in my stomach, just because I cannot believe. I mean, folks, it's like 67 pages with this lawsuit. It's disgusting. If you, like I said, if you want to go out of your way and read it online, go do it. Paul and I give you the analysis of what's going on, but I mean, we have the final two statements to read here, and then we'll go into our final thoughts about Vince McMahon. Here we are. We'll start with the Bellas because we mentioned the Bellas earlier. Nikki and Brie posted this on Twitter. We are shocked and disheartened with the recent allegations against members of the WWE. It has been a lot to process since we found out this past week, just as you all did. This is something we don't stand for or condone from anyone, no matter who they are. We want all women to feel safe and supported in the workplace and in their everyday lives. And then we'll get to Ronda Rousey. Which Ronda Rousey, a lot of people were like, yes, because, oh my God, she broke the internet when she said this. Bruce Pritchard's basically Vince's avatar. If he's still around, Vince still has a hand in the business. Vince was still running things through Bruce when he was, quote unquote, gone before. And that's what Ronda said. And then you had Triple H, who, all right, I don't know what people wanted them to say. Like, there was like, yeah, how are you going to answer this to not look good or bad? But I know he did say what they are going to be doing is everything possible to make it a safe environment. So, I mean, you hear from the Bellas, you hear from Ronda, you hear from Triple H. So I got to say, Triple H handled that the best that he could.
I want to say that he handled it. I don't want to say if it was the best way he could. Yeah. I want to say that he spoke.
Right.
He probably wasn't. I'm sure he was prepared that somebody was going to bring it up, and lo and behold, it was the exact same person that brought up to CM Punk about Colt Cabana. I don't want to mention his name because I hate his ass.
Me too.
But because he's a piece of shit. But you get a lot of outlets that have already said, you know, that somebody was bound to bring it up, or whether it was going to be them, or it was going to be, if it was going to be Chris Van Vliet, or if it was whoever was inside that press, inside that media room, somebody was going to bring it up. So it was bound and determined to get said. Do I think he handled it correctly? No. Do I think he said what what he should have said, of course, you have to minimize what you're going to say. Apparently, I hope they address it at some point, but anytime you have a media scrum like that and something happens prior to that, you know that somebody was going to bring it up, especially after the fight with CM Punk and the Young Bucks, and then shortly after that, with Jack Perry, somebody was going to bring it up. It was bound to happen. So it's either you handle it one way or you handle it another. Do I even think Tony Khan handled it well? No, he kind of deflected the question.
Yeah, with Jericho. Yeah,
with Jericho, and but he had somebody there to kind of help move it into a different direction, and kind of say, okay, well, we did this, and then, this whole committee with Daniel Bryan and whatever. But I mean, it's, you either address it to the best way you can, and or you say you're going to address it at a later date, but you want to give it time. Really, I think what he really wanted to do was focus on the Royal Rumble, because he wanted to separate the two. He wanted to separate what Vince did and what happened that night at the Royal Rumble. I can understand him wanting to do, and not want it to be the focal point of the whole media scrum. I think he should have done something like maybe like after Raw, or or went on the bump and addressed it, or came on, on YouTube or whatever and said something. But, and it not just be him. Had it been like Nick Khan or Ari, and as a group, especially the TKO group, come out and say something, that would have been a hell of a lot better than what happened.
I think what the TKO putting out their statement about legally going into it, because this happened before the TKO regime.
Yeah.
I think also having the fact that, I mean, it was apparent when Slim Jim pulled out, they had to do something. And my other thing is, I felt so bad for Shawn Michaels this week, because we got NXT Vengeance Day this Sunday, which we'll talk about next week, the fallout from it, Paul. But like, poor Shawn Michaels, if you listen to that media call, like, he's trying to talk about NXT and everybody kept asking him about Vince. So
he said what he said. Mm-hmm. I respect what he said.
Me too.
And he handled it better than Triple H.
Yep. It's like when Cody handled it better than Triple H.
And Cody handled it better than Triple H. But you know what? It goes back to, had this been like a joint thing, had Ari been there, had Nick been there, and had Triple H been there, had they all said something about it, look, this was something that happened. Yes, Triple H was there, but I think that's kind of along the lines why Stephanie isn't there, why Shane isn't there, and for the first time in the company's existence, there isn't a McMahon in the company.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people want to rally to get Stephanie McMahon back and work with the girls and just have her back because they like Stephanie McMahon. But personally, I think with the group that you have with TKO, Triple H, Nick Khan, and like we mentioned, Triple H, Nick Khan, and everybody that's there now, The Rock, and Shawn Michaels is there. I think you have a more positive outlook on where the company's direction is going to go. And as far as Vince McMahon, I think my last words on Vinnie Mac is rock. Just rot. And I mean, we'd see the text messages of this dyslexic and everything that was discussing that he said in the incorrect words of the spelling. It reminds me of, he's an older gentleman now. I'm sure like he's not right in the head with the fact that he's gotten older. We see him looking more frail, and we had the cane with him. But the way I read how he put those text messages, I'm not going to say what he said, but it reminded me of like a teenage boy trying to hook up with a chick, if that makes sense. It's very, very much reminiscent of like how a teenager would talk to a chick, like try to hook up.
It could, I can see it, and through everything that he was sending, it just seemed like it was like a teenager asking for
like
pics,
yeah,
for pics from a girl, and him wanting to send his D pic to the girls, and without telling them that that's what he's gonna do. It's stuff like that, dude. You're old enough to know that you right from wrong, and if you're not all there in your head and all this is going on, then something's wrong, dude. Something's totally wrong. And I'm hoping that I believe that Triple H was his hands were tied when Vince was there, to want to do all the things that he's doing now. So I'm just hoping that eventually at some point that they, going forward now with the TKO group, because Ari doesn't want anybody to, that's more or less the person who told Vince, you need to get the hell out of here, because you are not going to mess with my business. Believe me, if I can back out of any Saudi deal, any Saudi shady deal that you backhanded, stuff that happened in the back shed of a building or whatever, I'm gonna back out of it. And that's another thing that more or less was in the thing too, was in the lawsuit, that a lot of his shady deals also had to do with the Saudis too. So we'll see where Ari goes. We'll see what TKO, Endeavor, and everybody else kind of goes through. But I'm hoping going forward that they can start anew and a new beginning, because it seems like that's the route that they're going.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And we will be starting a new show next week, so you can expect us to be talking about the fallout from NXT Vengeance, the NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. We are going to talk about this press conference from Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh, my Lord. There's a lot even more to talk about next week, and I'm excited, as always, to do this with you, Paul. We are back and better than ever. And, bro, I'm going to say this. Thank you, as always. And I know we went a little bit extra over the hour time like we did in our last episode. But, folks, there was a lot to talk about because shit hit the fan.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry I missed a week, so we had to kind of double this up. So we probably would have had this all done in about 45 minutes, but hey, you get a double in show in one night. So, hey,
we got you
for you.
Yeah, buddy. And I got to say, it's always quality. It's always great content. And Mr. Paul Morales, where can we follow you on the socials? Let us know, bro.
Of course, you can find me under Michael Larkin under Pornhub. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. That's yours. That's not mine. I'm sorry. My bad. You can find me under the RWT Facebook page. Of course, I am the Deadman, and my name is Paul Morales. So, of course, you can find me on X, also under RWT_Deadman. Of course, Mr. Michael Larkin. The show is yours. Floor is yours.
Thank you, bro. SM Show 1 or MCL92 on the Twitter, Larkin_92 or MLarkinMB on the Instagram. Subscribe to Mike Larkin92 on the YouTube. We're almost halfway at 800 subscribers. Thank you all for taking this journey. Let's get it up to 1,000, because we are doing the damn thing, and you're going to get more great content like you hear each and every week with the weekly review, with Uncaged with myself and Daniel Crimmins, with Deep Into the Heart of Wrestling with Robert Davis and Nicola MacDonald, Stephen Nicoforo and I for the Stephen Mike Show, Pop Culture History Podcast, On the Mic with Mikes, the LFC Podcast, Lingerie Fighting Championships. We have another event coming on Valentine's Day. Oh, my goodness. So any way to spend Valentine's Day is with the ladies of Lingerie Fighting Championships in Las Vegas at the FSW Future Stars of Wrestling Arena. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, man, stay tuned for more weekly reviews. Stay tuned to more great stuff with Paul Morales and myself. And just stay tuning for everything that comes within this channel. So for Paul Morales, my name is Mike Larkin. Links will be in the description. You should follow this son of a gun on Twitter. He's got a great Twitter handle, and he posts a lot of good stuff. My name is Mike Larkin, the weekly review. This concludes another edition. And Paul Morales, say your line. You know you want to say it.
Fuck you, Moses.
Have a great week, everybody, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.